Good morning. It's a beautiful day. I originally had some hard times figuring out what I was going to talk about today because every time I was pulling cards, they were cards that we've already talked about that subject. Not that something new can't come through, but I really would like to touch on all of the themes that are in this sacred balance deck. So I saw two cards. One of them was collaborative resolutions, and collaborative resolutions is a purposeful practice to assist us in solving challenges that we have and working together as a team. I was talking last night about it, and so I think I am actually supposed to talk about collaborative resolutions, but I'm going to be talking about it from the standpoint of understanding what a purposeful practice is and how purposeful practices are designed to keep us in sacred alignment. So let's define sacred alignment first. Sacred alignment is us being in alignment with universal law, in alignment with oneness, in alignment with the way that things work in the universe. It is balanced, it is ecologically sound. These are all themes that you have heard before. A purposeful practice is about us creating a practice that keeps us in alignment with the laws of the universe, which makes sure that sacred balance is existing in our life. Collaborative resolutions is four different components. The first one is grounding, the second one is unifying, the third is collaboration, and the fourth is restoring. The first part is grounding, being present within ourselves, being in our place of homeostasis. This is hard to do in a world that has so much stimuli, so many things for us to focus our energy on, so many things to be in conflict with, because that is the legacy of how we have operated as a humanity. When something isn't something that we agree with, we find ourselves in conflict with that thing. Many times we're at conflict with ourselves. We're in a place where there's parts of ourselves that we don't want to acknowledge, or we feel like we don't like, or we feel like need to change. And we can ostracize and marginalize ourselves. This is something that happens a lot. And so grounding is about us coming home to ourselves. Grounding is about being connected with ourselves and our planet and the power that created us. It is about us occupying that space of oneness, of knowing that all things are working together for our good, that we can find peace within ourselves. Now, I'm not saying that you're always going to be in a situation where peace is possible. Remember, we're on a planet that has a lot of resistance. And so, what I'm talking about isn't being in a place of bypassing emotion or toxic positivity. And when I say toxic positivity, I don't mean optimism or positivity. Toxic positivity is a practice of avoiding the things that are coming up that feel negative, that make you feel a certain way. And it's about ignoring those things. We are meant to feel our feelings. We are meant to experience those feelings because our feelings tell us things. They are trainers. They give us information about what's in alignment with us and what is out of alignment with us. So we should never ignore our feelings. We should never bypass any emotions to get to positivity because we believe that positivity is somehow better. In fact, a purposeful practice of making sure that we are honoring our emotions and also practicing sacred alignment is shadow work. Shadow work is about facing the scary things, facing our fears, our doubts, our worries, and not facing them so that we become one with them, but we are facing them to observe them and to see what they are saying to us. A lot of people will avoid the very important work of looking at their shadow because they're afraid. They're afraid that looking at their shadow, they acknowledge that they are their shadow. And that really messes with their view of themselves. They want to put a label. Oh, because I feel this, I'm a bad person. That's really bypassing your humanity. So, shadow work is a purposeful practice to help us stay in alignment with sacred balance, with celestial alignment, with the way things are naturally, the universe. It's embracing the spectrum of our humanity. So I got off a little bit. What came up was something that Spirit wanted to share as a purposeful practice while I was talking about grounding. So grounding is about unifying with ourselves, coming into acceptance, knowing that we have everything that we need, that we unify with the divine presence that is never absent. And we ground in that peace and that understanding so that we can move forward with power. The next step is unifying. Now, unifying, when we're talking about other individuals, we're talking about unifying in ourselves. Yes, we did that through grounding, but the unifying that I'm talking about now is about finding common values to unify over. Now, this is difficult because everybody's values are different. Yesterday, I was talking to a young lady in a coaching session, and I said, "What are your top 3 values?" And she said, honesty and transparency. She said, integrity. And she said, having empathy and grace for others. And I love them. Those are beautiful values. But are they my top 5 values? No, they're not. But I can connect my top 5 values to her values. And that's what unifying is. So my top 5 values are equality, that everyone is equally valuable, powerful, necessary, and sacred. I believe in oneness, that we are all interconnected and we can only reach our highest potential together. I believe that the goodwill of humanity is inherent. However, we have a practice of practicing our socialization over our goodwill. Another value is belonging, that everyone deserves to feel safe, seen, and celebrated, and integrity, that those values will guide my life and actions. So we did have one value that was the same, in fact. But the other values, I asked her to connect to one of my values. And even in the way that she did, might not have been in the way that I would have connected to the value, but nonetheless, she found a way to unify with me over a value. Now, our values are a purposeful practice. Our values aren't just something that we say. Our values are something that we become, that we are, that we hold as the compass to drive our life. If we have a value, but we are not living it, we do not value it. As we're talking about purposeful practices, how do you embody the values that you say you have? So one of the things that I do when I share my values, and I just did it just now, is that I talk about what that value looks like in action. Why do I do that? Because it's no longer a word when I describe it as an action. It is a purposeful practice. So when I am encountering someone who is different, they have a different perspective or a different opinion, and it might even be counter to mine, I understand that my beliefs are not more important than theirs, because I'm honoring the equality of our being, that we are each equally valuable, powerful, necessary, and sacred. I can honor oneness, understanding that if they seem separate or different from me, that does not trump the fact that the same power and presence that created me created them. And so I honor them and their decision. Now, that doesn't mean that I have to hold their value above my value. It's about us both honoring our values as something that we do. We do not force our values on others. So unifying is about having conversations around our values, around who we say we want to be, around how we can and will commit to being in relationship with one another. And there are times where people are not willing to value or hold the same way of being that you do. But that doesn't mean that you don't hold the end of your bargain when it comes to your values. That means that you know and understand who that person is and you respect where they are on their journey. You don't try to push them to become who you think they should become. Our values are a purposeful practice. It is something that we do consistently with intention because that is who we want to be. It's about upholding our own justness. So when we are working with someone, when we're communicating with someone, when we are trying to solve a challenge with someone, these are the steps. We ground ourselves and we do the work of unifying with that other person or group of people. The next step is actually the collaboration. Collaboration honors the equality in our work together. There is no hierarchy. There are no greater needs than anybody else's. This is what true collaboration is. True collaboration listens to the concerns and the needs and the requests of each party involved. And in doing that, they not only listen, but they work together to find an ecologically sound solution, a solution that addresses everyone's needs, a solution that sees all needs as equally sacred and important and addresses everyone's concerns. So collaboration isn't easy. There is no fast way to collaborate. It is work. And I think it's work that we have not been in a purposeful practice around. Collaboration is a purposeful practice. It's something that we have to do when it's easy and we have to do it when it's hard. The last part is restoring. Restoring is essential to justice. It's essential to celestial alignment. We have to heal. We are humans and we have harmed one another. We have said things that could, create harm in our relationships. And when we work together, it doesn't mean that we've done it on purpose, but we need to be in a place where we're keeping the community whole and healthy. And that requires us to focus on what needs to be restored. So restoring is an act of accountability. It is an acknowledgement that we sometimes fall short. And we want to make sure we have a commitment that we've made to the community to be healthy and whole. And say, for example, you were working with someone and you lost your temper, or you snapped at them, or you used words that were unkind. First of all, it requires us to understand social skills that uphold justice and equality, social skills that honor everyone's belonging, social skills that make everyone feel safe, seen, and celebrated. This is a purposeful practice. It is a purposeful practice to have empathy and create spaces for grace. And it's also a purposeful practice to use social skills like kindness, compassion, and care, and for us to be intentional about that. And when we don't, we have the responsibility of restoring the harm that we've created with our carelessness. We have to be purposeful in our practice, not careless. And so restoring is really about listening, about providing opportunities for healing and providing opportunities for accountability so that we are consistently showing up in a way that honors everyone with equality and justice, that creates that harmonious, sacred balance that upholds justice and equality. These are all purposeful practices. So after my session, I was talking to my client. We did some role playing around a certain situation that they were in. And they said, Pamela, I know this. I know how to do this. But when it comes to being in the moment, my body gets tense. I start to hear my heart pounding in my chest. Stories start running in my head about how they've wronged me or what might they think of me. And I lose all of this knowledge that I have. And that is because it has not been a purposeful practice. See, who you are when you are triggered, who you are when you're caught off guard, is what you've embodied. That is your practice. So in order to create a new practice, you must be intentional. One of the suggestions I gave was write down Post-it notes, grounding, unifying, collaborating, restoring. Put that on your desk. Put it on your mirror. Put it someplace you are going to see it consistently. What does that do? It reminds you. It gives the subconscious mind a reminder that this is what I should be focusing on. This is what I need to do. When you're in the moment, you are in the place where you start to feel your body tense up. Start a purposeful practice of deep breathing to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, the one that triggers balance, calm, and rest. And another purposeful practice is segment intending, where whenever you're about to go into a new segment of your life, maybe you just got off the phone with a friend or you just got out of the car and you're going to work, walk into work. Take a moment to ground, to center yourself, to remind yourself of your values and how you're going to show up in the world. And be ready to collaborate. Be ready to be open to others, but also be in the purposeful practice of grounding yourself and bringing your best energy into all the spaces that you are entering. So this is the message for today. I hope that you will begin to think about committing to a purposeful practice of grounding, a purposeful practice of unifying, a purposeful practice of collaborating, and a purposeful practice of restoring. That you will write down your top 3 values and how you want to show up in the world, and that you will use those values as a purposeful practice to guide your life and actions. This is how we create justice and equality. This is how we operate in balance. This is how we embody our own justness.